Is this full-on capitulation? When is this pain going to end? Oh, man, so unless you've been living under a rock, you would have known by now that FTX is in trouble. They are trading insolvent, and we saw this notification yesterday to suggest that Binance are looking to acquire FTX. So what next? Are we now safe? And if so, therefore, why is the market falling? How much lower can we go? Let's try to analyze this contagion effect and map out the different scenarios from here. Guys, don't forget to subscribe. Check out the links in the description below to buy the crypto. But this poor guy has lost $14.6 billion overnight, seemingly. But not worry not, guys. This guy still has net worth, Sam Bankman-Fried, of just shy of $1 billion, which just goes to show, if you're in the elite, you can play risky games and still not have to worry about putting bread on the table. Cannot say the same for those that are unfortunate enough to leave their life savings on FTX. Those people will be having a much worse day than Sam Bankman-Fried will be having today. That is for sure. He would have lost a bit of ego, he would have lost a bit of of his reputation, but there are some people out there who will not be able to pay their bills because they left money on his exchange, which had purely poor risk management. So let's catch us up. If you've not covered off all the content from before, let's catch up on what happened, right? We had this balance sheet leakage from CoinDesk a couple of days ago. We started seeing that Alameda Research were in some difficulties in terms of a hole in their balance sheet, partly because they were propped up by the FTT token. So in other words, they were collateralizing a token which they've minted themselves to take out loans. Big no-no, guys. Big no-no. We then started finding out that FTX were in a bunch of trouble as well. Once we found out that that was going on, we saw that withdrawals, whilst not officially paused, we saw that they weren't going out on the Ether scan. So we were monitoring that yesterday live together. And then hours later, it came out that Sam Bankman-Fried had reached out to CZ to ask if he could help. CZ has now signed a letter of intent, which is non-binding, to acquire FTX. That's where we stand right now. Now, on the initial news, when it got announced, we saw Bitcoin actually started to rebound. You can see this candlestick taking you up here. But why have we since started falling? Why has the price deteriorated so badly? We called this yesterday. I said yesterday, I'm expecting 17,600 or lower, right? And I particularly expect lower. And we're going to go into why very, very shortly. Now, so a lot of people trying to understand what's going on. If he's acquiring them, then what's the problem? Guys, the problem is far bigger than that. Through the message that FTX is officially in trouble and Binance are looking to buy them, we have confirmation that there is a liquidity crunch going on. We know that FTX is in a problem. Now, there is no onus on Binance to complete this deal. I tweeted this earlier as well. This is a non-binding letter of intent. So what happens from now, and this will be literally happening as we speak, and no, maybe even by now, by the time I post this video, you'll have a tweet from CZ. He will be doing his due diligence. His accountants will be going in and looking at the balance sheet of FTX to understand how deep is the hole in this balance sheet. Remember, ironically, FTX did the exact same with Celsius. They said, we're going to buy Celsius. They looked at the balance sheet, saw a hole of $2 billion. They're like, oh no, we don't want that, right? So this is what we need to understand, that this does not mean it's going through. And therefore, if it doesn't go through, this could mean disaster for the markets, because the contagion will start to spread. Because if Binance do not buy them, I can't see anybody else touching FTX right now, and unlikely that they're going to resolve their issues. So they're trading insolvent, and it's a matter of time before they're bankrupt. So this means anybody who's got funds stuck in FTX, and guys, we've given you over 48 hours of notice here, where I said if I was on FTX, I'd be getting my funds out. They're in trouble, right? There's no guarantee that you're going to be getting your funds back. We saw this play out with Celsius, and those people still haven't seen any remnants of their funds. We've seen the FTT token continue to collapse here today. You can see that's coming down another 20%. They're now sitting at 4.3. I mean, this is on a mission to zero, right? If there's no value in FTX exchange, and this is very unlikely to survive, because even if CZ does acquire, what utility does he see in the FTT token? He much rather push his Binance Smart Chain and his BNB exchange token instead. So there's a tricky situation here for FTT. Let's play through some of the different options we have here in terms of the purchasing. We know that if Binance do want to go ahead with it, then great. You want to go ahead with it. We want to make sure that there's no risk there as well, because the last thing you want is for the first biggest exchange, which by the way centralizes a lot of the crypto trading volume onto one exchange. It was already heavily dominant by Binance, and now they've got an acquired number 2. I mean, it's like Apple acquiring Microsoft, right? Or iOS and Android merging into one force. It's a huge monopoly, and we want to make sure that contagion effect doesn't spread like a cancer, right? Because you can acquire the business, Binance can acquire FTX, but the last thing he will want to do just to get one over on Sam Bankman-Fried is to bring a cancer into his healthy Binance organization. So you've seen that happen before in normal equities, where companies buy another company and they bring the problems along with them, damaging the original cash cow. So that's another risk point we need to watch out for as well. Now, there's a huge chance that what's going on here is just CZ wanting to look under the bonnet, right? He has no commitment to buy. He waited for Sam Bankman-Fried to be in a bit of a bother and then made him bow to him, right? Because we know they didn't get on. The bunch of the regulatory issues, Sam Bankman-Fried trying to lobby for regulation behind the backs of his peers such as CZ. And now you got Do Kwon coming out and posting this. How ironic. I don't think this is the right time for somebody like Do Kwon coming out and posting this, that Sam Bankman-Fried's having to kneel to his superior, which is very, very interesting. We had Andre Cronje reply to this as well. Do you feel in charge? Right? So a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon here with a bunch of memes, which look, for Sam Bankman-Fried, you can say to an extent he deserved it. He was doing what maybe is going to be proven to be illegal transactions in terms of collateralizing funds which isn't his to lend against. And this is really bad practice, really bad for the crypto space, and does not leave us looking good at all. And that's the shame right now, because the shame is the equity markets are looking all right. And that's what's crazy. We were coming into a big week. Midterm elections are just trying to finalize. Now we've got CPI data tomorrow. The market has ticked up here. 57% of the market is now expecting just a 50 basis point rate hike, which is very interesting. If you head on over to the traditional markets, you can see we have indeed got a little bit of green, right? 0.5% on the NASDAQ, over 1% on the Dow Jones, which is impressive. But crypto is unable to follow suit, which is a real shame that this is what's sending us to the downside. And on our live stream earlier on today, which hopefully you guys have seen, it was over an hour long, where we were just chilling together watching this turmoil. I put this rectangular box and I said I'm going to expect this is while we were recovering. We were showing some good strength back up here towards these levels, and I said I expect us to have our second leg down, and you can see we've had exactly that, and I even expect us to get worse. Now, what's my premise for getting worse? Hear me out on this one. So if you imagine when we came to these 17,600 lows, at that point this was highly led by everything that was going on: monetary policy tightening, 3 hours capital, Celsius, Voyager, Terra Luna, all led to 17,600, and we built some support and recovered back up to 25,000 roughly. Now this time, this is much worse, and this is what people are not understanding. The effects of FTX collapsing. This is not the same as Terra Luna. This is not the same at all. This is not the same as Celsius. Celsius is far smaller a play than FTX. FTX is everywhere. Their tentacles are everywhere, and for us to even begin to start understanding the contagion effect, I just want to show you one thing, which is just what we found out here in the last few hours, that gives you an idea of the exposure. Crypto finance firm Galaxy Digital, one of the biggest out there, reveals they got 76.8 million exposure to FTX. They've got a net loss of 68 million in the third quarter. Right? They got hit by Luna, and now they're getting hit by FTX as well. They must be thinking, what can we do wrong? Right? These guys, all these same people were in 3 hours capital. They were in Voyager. They're in FTX. It's going to create this huge contagion effect. What does it mean for something like Solana, right? Because it's not just exchanges, it's projects as well. Solana down another 25% for obvious reasons, tied to Alameda Research. Sam Bankman-Fried was one of the big reasons that this was pushing. He was always backing it up. I mean, I refer you back to this tweet where he had an argument with CoinMember on Twitter saying that Solana was going to do much better than he thought it was, right? And now he's getting his karma. Sam Bankman-Fried was a big voice pipe for Solana, whether people like it or not. Now, obviously, the argument is now going to be, look, Solana's a separate blockchain. They've got their own developers. They can do their own thing. I understand that. But when you've risen off of the back of putting someone on a pedestal, we saw this with Phantom and Andre Cronje. It only goes one way, and you've got to be very, very careful putting people on a pedestal. And that goes for CZ. I don't want the pedestal just moving from Sam Bankman-Fried and Do Kwon and all these guys over to CZ. We've got to learn to keep everything decentralized. There's one lesson we've learned. Centralization is where the greed is occurring. Right? And we should have learned that from traditional finance, and that is why we've strayed away from what our mission has always been. And when we put these same guys on pedestals that couldn't make it, they weren't good enough to make it in traditional finance, which is why they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes here to become billionaires in the crypto space where there's no regulation, and then to try set regulation that suits them. This is what they're trying to do. And why do they want regulation at that point? Once he's a deca-billionaire, why does he suddenly want regulation? He didn't build his wealth with regulation. Oh no. He wants the regulation to protect him, to stop the average person from taking wealth so he can harbor it benefit for himself. So that's the contagion effect, guys. And it doesn't stop with Solana, Render, Serum, any other projects on the Solana network, right? All of these things. What about the Voyager deal? This has huge consequences for anybody who had their money stuck in Voyager, because now we don't know if the Voyager deal is going to go through. Binance will probably get to set the terms of whether that goes through or not, right? We're going to find that out overall in due course of what that means. So we're seeing a lot of pain here in the market. And the reality is I'm expecting more pain. If we look at the key levels here on my chart, I'm expecting, I said on the course member on the member live stream earlier, 16,240 is the next support level. I don't want to get crazy and call crazy lower price targets, although I can show you patterns which do scare you a little bit. But 16,240, for me, this capitulation has to be bigger than the previous one, because it's much bigger of an issue and it's much bigger of a risk. And if we get a tweet from CZ, which is a non-zero probability, by the way, that he comes out and says, I'm not doing this deal, or I need some more time, markets will lose the plot right here. And this is the final, in my opinion, capitulation of this bear market. Unless Binance wants to go down, which would be like literally horrific, this is going to be the ultimate test of this bear market. And it's been a horrible one. This is the worst bear market. For anybody who's unsure, this has been the worst bear market by far. One thing we've learned is that the more this institutional type money comes in, the more scandalous the behavior becomes, the more like traditional finance. And it's frustrating because we're becoming no different to what we're trying to resolve. And I've said that time and time again, guys. I said that when all the other things were collapsing. I said that with stable coins and the various issues we've seen around some of the stable coins. And this continues to be an issue. We've really got to learn. We've really got to introspective and say, look, what is our mission? And are we straying away from this? And more importantly, it's not us who are doing great work, but it's a few people who we continue to put on a pedestal who have no right to be on that pedestal just because they built net worth exploiting others, right? That shouldn't define who we put on a pedestal. So it's really important that we understand that. A few other things to monitor. Fear and greed index sitting at 29. I expect this to drop hugely by tomorrow. These readings are always slightly lagged. The fear will come back in this market as you expect. US markets are holding up pretty well. Still waiting to see who gets control here. Still unknown with key races to call. So they're going to have to wait for that to kind of play out. But it's very, very tight over there in the US. Here's another thing that's a real kicker right now. The dollar index is doing what we wanted it to do, what we were waiting for so long. Let me just zoom out, right? Look at this. It's on this huge uptrend. And what did we say? We want to see a break of trend. We called it perfectly. We saw this triple top. We started trending to the downside. Look how it followed our lines, guys. Look at that, how it followed my lines, which I drew. I drew those yellow lines here on one of our videos earlier. You can see how perfectly it's drawn it. So I'm not surprised if it gets a little rally now, comes somewhere here, and then falls back again. But the most important thing, bringing out the EMA ribbon, is that we've lost our EMA ribbon, and we can start trending to the downside. If we get a nice extended move here to the downside, all the way down here, that could mean a nice rally for the high-risk markets. But the unfortunate thing is Bitcoin ain't able to participate. Bitcoin has not been able to participate because FTX and the saga and the drama has ruined our momentum. So we were showing really good strength here before this dump took us down over the last couple of days. We were making nice moves, higher lows, higher highs, trending up towards 22,000, and then the market completely dumped. So is this the final capitulation? Lots of people are losing interest in crypto right now, and I just wanted to take this video as a reminder to say, guys, if you wanted to navigate this bear market, these are the trials and tribulations you have to go through. Whether it was Mt. Gox, whether it was Terra Luna, whether it was now FTX, it's just another piece of history in the naysayers of crypto where they're going to all capitulate. That's the reality. Either you're going to stay in with conviction, or you're going to capitulate and come back in when the price is back higher. You guys have got to make that decision. You've got to build your own conviction. You've got to do your own research. Nobody can make that decision for you. Because the reality is when you wake up in the morning and see the price down like this, you're either going to panic sell or you're not. And it's going to come down to the conviction, the research, and the belief you have in your investments. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you appreciate this type of content, smash all the likes. Don't forget to subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you like this type of content. Go watch this video here, and I'll see you in the next one.